is about rural locations, and when you see Justin, click for help. So the stepping stones for this lesson are to start off with knowing what a rural retail location is, to know what rural locations actually offer retailers, and to be able to explain how seasons impact on rural retailers. The key vocabulary today, obviously rural, that's the key one here, but we've also got seasonal and seasonality, footfall and community. You'll know you've completed the lesson successfully when you can write a statement of what a rural retail location is, why some retailers, particularly large ones, don't choose rural locations, and that you can explain how and why seasonality impacts on rural retailers. And the careers at the bottom from retail are butcher, cinema attendant and builder's merchant, all part of the retail industry. Here's your work list for rural locations. There's only 2 of them. You've got rural or not rural as task 1, or rural or seasonal for task 2. So this shouldn't take too long. Rural. These are areas located outside cities and towns and are less populated. These can include small villages and areas in the countryside. Retailers will locate here but will tend to be focused on the local population and will have a much lower footfall than urban areas. There is often much less choice for shoppers in rural areas. Many shops in rural areas sell products that consumers need, such as grocery stores, convenience stores, clothes, pharmacy, butchers and bakeries. It is likely that the owners of the shop will also live locally and will have a connection to their customers and the community they all live in. Task 1, rural or not rural. You've got 3 questions in the table below, and using the text that we've just looked at, which is also in a little snippet above, you need to answer the questions. Question 1. Explain why there is less choice for local residents who shop in their rural location. So we've got to look about some geographic information about these areas, about the size of them and where they are compared to, say, other cities and towns. So that'll give you a clue for question 1. Question 2. Explain why large retailers may choose not to locate in rural areas. So if we look in the second paragraph, it's really only one answer that they're looking for this particular question. So it's talking about if retailers locate there, they focus on the local population, and what if will large retailers not have access to it if they've only got a small local population. Question 3. Explain the benefits and drawbacks to local shoppers of having smaller locally owned retailers. So this isn't just the last 2 paragraphs, this is probably the overall understanding of the article. So you've got to look at what the local retailers will offer. What is it that's special about that particular retailer? What is it that they have about the community that makes it a nicer place to shop for those who live in the community? And what is it in terms of things that they need and what's on offer? All these things come together to give you the answer for question 3. Some things are going to be good, which is particularly in terms of that community feel, and then drawbacks, because whilst you've got a lot of retailers which provide what's needed, what about that frivolous luxury spend that you might like now and again because you've had a payday, a bumper payday, things like that? So there's things to consider for question 3. Rural or seasonal. Rural retailers will focus on the local people. However, some rural areas are popular in the summertime, seasonal with tourists and day visitors. As a result, some rural areas will have shops that appeal to these people, and they will depend on their custom to survive. The footfall in these areas will increase significantly in the summer months. Gift shops, antique shops, handcraft shops and farm shops will gain sales during the busy months, and then rely on the local people to help them in the quiet months. Task 2. Explain how the shops shown in the location below, those 2 photographs on the left, A and B, explain how these shops are rural and seasonal. So picture A, you need to write your answer in the box on the right. So what you need to do is look at the picture and describe what you see. Describe the geographic location, describe perhaps how many cars are there, describe how people are getting about. These things will lead you to make a decision whether it's rural or seasonal. Picture B. Literally, as before, describe what you see again and think of it geographically. Describe perhaps the location of that gift shop that you can see, and then work out whether it is rural or seasonal on that one. And again, as an explain, you need to describe what you see and say why you've come to that decision. Well done, you've completed your work list of 2 tasks for Rural Locations Lesson 18.